What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another live. We're streaming here on Facebook via StreamYard. I got you guys up on Instagram. And today I'm going to wait for some people to drop in here. If you guys are just tuning in, I want you to send this live to some of your friends, some of your family. Let them know you're here listening, watching. I'm going to be providing some value for you guys today on an animal-based diet, some helpful cooking tips that I didn't necessarily have in the beginning of learning about an animal-based diet. So we're going to go over some tips here today, some helpful cooking tips. Spence is probably going to walk in here in a minute, and we are going to get this rocking and rolling. We're going to jump right into it today. Going to wait for some people to get in here. Get this going. We're on Facebook. We got Insta rolling, rocking and rolling. Wednesdays are all about nutrition, as you guys know. What's going on, Tony? Happy freaking Wednesday, brother. Was just telling the people of Instagram, Facebook, anyone streaming right now that today we're going to be talking about an animal-based diet. I know every Wednesday, you guys probably know by now, we talk about an animal-based diet, Nutrition Wednesdays, but I wanted to give you guys some helpful tips, some helpful cooking tips and stuff like that for the next 10 to 15 minutes on how you can kind of make an animal-based diet fit your schedule. Like what a lot of people don't really quite understand, and it's hard at first when you're switching, quote unquote, a diet or to a new lifestyle. What's going on, babe? Happy freaking Wednesday. But what most people don't understand is Gibson, my man, what's going on, brother? Happy freaking Wednesday. If you guys are just tuning in either on Instagram, on Facebook, we're live talking about an animal-based diet. Today's all about nutrition. We're going to be talking about 5 cooking tips or health hacks in the kitchen on an animal-based diet. So 5 things that I recommend that you do, that you switch in the kitchen to make an animal-based diet more applicable to your own lifestyle. So if you guys are just joining in, I want you to share this live if you can. Share to a friend, to some family members. Let them know that you're watching today. I want to give you guys these 5 tips. I want to let you guys know that this is absolutely what's going on, Jess. Happy freaking Wednesday. I want to let you guys know that this is doable for anybody. I like 4 or 5 years ago, I was actually thinking about going vegan. I watched this documentary on Netflix called What the Health, and I'm sure, or not What the Health. Well, I watched What the Health and then Game Changers. And when I watched Game Changers, they had done such a phenomenal way of editing their information and kind of using it as a form of manipulation to make someone who's maybe not as familiar with the science behind nutrition very easy to manipulate. And I fell for it. I was like, all right, I'm going to go vegan. This was 5 years ago. And I wound up buying vegan protein, and I was like all gung-ho about it. I was buying more spinach, more leafy greens. I was incorporating that into my morning smoothies, and I was still having gastro problems. I was bloated all the time. I just didn't feel good. I still didn't feel good. And it wasn't until about 12 months ago that I actually decided to look into, a meat-based diet. I actually met a homeowner when I was working for my family roofing company, and he was a carnivore. I walked into his house for an estimate to take a look at his roof, and all I could smell was the aroma of bacon. And I was with my dad, and we were like, "Why, John, why does it smell like bacon in here, bro? Like, it smells like your whole house smells like freaking bacon." He's like, "Well, that's because I cooked a pound of bacon this morning and last night." "What? Why did you cook 2 pounds of bacon in the last 12 hours? "Oh, I'm a carnivore." And that kind of started the whole thing for me. He was the first person that I met who was actually a carnivore and ate nothing but meat. He ate bacon, he ate steak, hamburgers, and really that was it. He ate pork and red meat, and he claimed that he was the healthiest he's been his entire life. This guy was like 40 years old. And, it instantly intrigued me. He gave me a copy of Dr. Ken Berry's book, Lies My Doctor Told Me. And if you guys have not heard or read this book, I highly suggest looking into it. This was the first book that really sparked, besides this guy, John, introducing me to this diet. I read this book by Dr. Ken Berry, and, it was like 20 or 25 different lies and myths that are in the healthcare system that most like 90% of doctors will tell you, like saying having high cholesterol is a bad thing, and talking about insulin sensitivity and blood pressure and how sodium really isn't the problem. Like nitrates in lunch meat and processed foods isn't a problem. Like if you're eating an animal-based diet. So I was learning all of these things just 12 months ago, and it exploded for me. My mind was like in complete awe as to all this information in front of me. And so I read. I discovered Dr. Paul Saladino. I started following his podcast, the Fundamental Health Podcast, where every week he releases multiple episodes with interviewing, the world's top doctors in nutrition. And he's a dual board certified MD himself, and he's kind of living his life in Costa Rica, living an animal-based diet, eating bull testicle, eating animal organs, being a complete fucking savage. And, that was like, what the fuck? Like, there's people out there that actually live like this. I've never seen that because I've always followed mainstream shit. And, I finally realized, like, holy crap, like, this is something I have to try. And as soon as I started to try it, I was like, I was in. I was all in. I was completely all in. I got my girlfriend on it. We started eating animal-based. We were cooking every night. We cut out all seed oils, PUFAs. We started to cut out the vegetables. At first we were still eating Brussels sprouts and stuff like that. But we eventually cut those out. And now it's to the point to where, all we eat on the regular is hamburgers, steak, really never eat chicken or pork. Occasionally we'll have fish, but it's mainly red meat, and we feel absolutely fucking phenomenal. And I'm here to tell you, if you guys have not tried an animal-based diet or even carnivore, like, I would really look into this. I try to post as much as I can to kind of inform you guys on what I know and what I've discovered and learned through my own personal experience. And that's going to kind of segue us in, because I really only have 10 more minutes. I have a client here at the studio that I have to get to, but I'm going to knock out these 5 health hacks or cooking tips that I suggest you utilizing in the kitchen to make an animal-based diet more applicable to your life, right? Like you might be wondering, okay, great, an animal-based diet is the way humans are supposed to live. That's great, but how can I implement this diet into my lifestyle? Like, I'm a busy person. I'm a dad. I'm a businessman. Like, whatever it is that you do, you got to understand that this is completely applicable to your life. And here comes Spence now. I was just telling them we got about 10 minutes. That's fucking science phone. CBD. But I was just telling everybody, giving them a background of animal-based diet, and kind of went into a little rabbit hole about, the importance of it. And now we're going to get into 5 health hack cooking tips that we were kind of talking about this morning, you and me.
Yep.
So I'll start with number 1, and we'll kind of go back and forth. We'll knock out 5 here. So for me, the biggest health hack or cooking tip that anyone can do, especially for beginners, is cutting out PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids. Now, these guys are known or referred to as seed oils. So pretty much any oil, like, you want to be cooking in primarily animal fats, in beef tallow, beef lard, ghee, otherwise known as clarified butter. This has a higher cook temp, and you're going to, by consuming animal fats, you're going to be building a stronger cellular membrane. And this is going to be able to allow you to sit in the sun for longer amounts of time without, toxic sunblock, with all the chemicals that are in sunblock. It's going to allow you to not be as inflamed. Like, a lot of people are living in an inflamed state, and a lot of it has a lot to do with, eating these polyunsaturated fatty acids.
And inflammation is more than just, you don't necessarily, if you have inflammation in your body, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in pain.
Right.
You might not know that you have inflammation, but
that's a good point.
Inflammation is literally aging you faster. That's what it does. It degenerates joints. It degenerates bone. And I mean, that's why everybody has so many health issues in society today. If you look at populations in Hong Kong that eat primarily animal-based, they're the healthiest population by far. So that's not a study. That's not, something that somebody could have coerced into, like you see these documentaries, like, Forks Over Knives and stuff like that. Right. Those are done with small scale studies that have an effect by funding from lobbyists. So not to get into politics,
right. but it does correspond to politics.
It does. I mean, it corresponds to the fact that the government does not care about your health. Mm-hmm. They actually benefit from you getting sick.
Yep.
So you have to start doing your own research and start understanding how your body processes things far beyond Google. That's a really Google research. I mean, if you look up animal based, or if you look up anything animal based as far as vegetables not being great for you, you're gonna see everything about how great vegetables are for the first two pages, because that's the way that society is right now. That's how Google is.
Yep.
Like even just for instance, this is another thing. So with Google, Fox News has better ratings than CNN, but if you type in breaking news in Google, CNN still pops up first. That is not how the algorithm is supposed to work. And so it just goes to show that things are selected based on politics.
Yep. That's a really good point. I'm glad Spencer brought that up, because that's really why Spencer and I are on social media. It's to kind of inform you guys and educate you with what we know, because we've seen a lot in this industry, in the health industry, as personal trainers, as corrective exercise specialists with what we do. It's all around us. There's a lot of phonies out there. Most 98% of the people that you guys meet don't want you to win. We want you to win. We want you to succeed. We want you to be healthy and bountiful and abundant and feeling fucking amazing all the time.
Exactly.
So that's why we're here. And, with that being said, that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah. And when I first started to understand and do my research on animal-based diet, I've been a nutritionist for 9 years. So it's not like I wasn't on the side. I wasn't against it at first. At first I was like, that's crazy. Vegetables like being bad for you. Like that's insane. And I really had to dig in and do my research and feel the difference in my own body to make that realization that, they're toxic. Beans, red beans, if you do certain things to red beans, you can literally die.
Raw, like if you were to eat
raw red beans can kill you. They're toxic to the human body. Yet everybody's like, beans.
That's the source of life for a plant. Don't you think that they're going to want to protect their evolution, their well-being of carrying on and procreating?
That's exactly why things, with certain fruit, when you have a fruit, you eat the apple, you drop the core of the apple, the seeds are around it, and then that continues to grow another tree.
Right.
Vegetables do not work that way.
Nope.
Right? They're not designed to be mass produced by humans. This is something, agriculture, that the government likes to make a lot of money off of. So of course they're going to tell you that they're great for you. They look good on paper, but when it comes to what our body is actually able to absorb, they're not.
It's not. And I want to hit all 5 of these points here, because I have to go in 6 minutes for Rich.
Yeah.
So think of another one. So we got eliminate PUFAs, eliminate all seed oils. That's number 1 for both of us. Number 2, what would you say? Do we dare say eliminate vegetables for number 2? Or is that kind of?
Well, start to think differently about how much vegetables that you're eating.
Right.
And when you start to feel the change in your own body, that's a belief that you really need to make changes.
Right. And the biggest thing that Spence and I have realized with an animal-based or carnivore diet is it's more of an elimination diet. So when you can cut these things out of your diet, you might find that you can reintroduce back a sweet potato or an onion or something that might be semi-toxic, especially if you cook it. You can cook out a lot of these plant defense chemicals, oftentimes up to 90% of them. And you might find that your body's okay with it. Like, for instance, me, I enjoy sweet potatoes and I enjoy onions. And sometimes if I eat a raw onion, I will feel it. It upsets my stomach. But if I cook the onion in butter or something, I notice it doesn't bother me as much. And that's just from kind of repetition of, trial and error over the last 12 to 16 months. And that's kind of what Spencer, I think, was referring to there.
I would say number 2 would be to start cutting out simple sugars. Reason being, simple sugars like, let's say, bread. Okay, so carbs, when they break down super easy like that, it spikes your insulin levels, and then your insulin levels drop back down. So when your insulin levels are up and down like that, your body doesn't know what's going on, and that's going to be a big part of why you're gaining weight.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So cutting PUFAs out, we'll say cutting processed sugars. That's
Processed
a big
sugars,
processed
yeah.
sugars. Not fruit. Fruit is okay on an animal-based
Those are
diet.
natural. So those are natural
Fructose.
sugars. And the other thing is when you're eating those natural sugars with a complex thing such as like any type of animal protein, it's not going to spike as much because it's more complex for your body to break down.
Yep.
Which is why you're able to absorb the nutrients.
Absolutely. So processed sugars, eliminate PUFAs. Let's just call number 3 for time's sake, eliminating most vegetables and then reintroducing ones maybe by cooking them and seeing what works for you. I guarantee, maybe you'll find one thing that might possibly work for you, but mostly everything else is probably going to make you feel bloated and kind of like shit.
Yeah. There's not one. Everybody that I've talked to about the whole vegetable thing, they're like, oh, well, there's nutrients in vegetables that you can't get from meat. And that's a complete lie.
Yeah.
Everything that you possibly need can come from meat. Now, obviously we're more animal based, so we eat fruits and such. But people that are on a pure carnivore diet, they're fine. They don't have to supplement with anything that comes from a plant.
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa, you have vegans, they have to supplement with vitamin B12 and usually 2 or 3 other supplements that come from an animal. So, how does that not correlate to the fact that the human body is designed to eat animal?
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the economy or, like the not economy, the environment, right? Like agriculture is way worse for the environment than eating meat.
Absolutely.
In every way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about that on another podcast just for time reference today. So, you got eliminating PUFAs, processed sugars. Obviously that also comes with processed foods. Eliminating certain vegetables and reintroducing certain ones that, maybe are cooked and that work for you.
We'll call another one not like if you are starting to get into more of intermittent fasting, maybe on purpose or by accident, maybe you just work and you don't eat all day. So one of the big issues that people have with coming off an intermittent fast, and I hear it all the time, like, oh, this doesn't work for me. You don't binge eat after your fasting period, right? It's not an excuse. You don't say, oh, well, I haven't eaten all day, so let me binge eat. All the positive effects from what you're doing with your intermittent fasting are going to go away.
Right.
You're just binging on whatever you want to eat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, like I, for instance, also kind of to touch on this, like I'll eat carrots and cucumbers, and there's other things that might be considered vegetables that aren't the leaves, the stems, the seeds, the heart of the plant that you might be able to get away with. I skin cucumbers, I deseed them, and I love it. It's more like a fruit to me. It's very refreshing, nourishing, hydrating, and I love it. So like there's things out there that you guys can eat most likely that are plant foods that just aren't the epicenter of the plant.
Yeah.
So, that.
So we got to wrap it up, but guys, you can follow me. I have more content and, healthy tips, certain workouts and stuff on my Instagram. It's S_Richardson Fit. And just hit me up on there if you ever have any questions about anything. I'm happy to help.
Absolutely, guys. We're doing big things. We're ready to kind of expose something new that we're doing. Very excited about it. And if you guys are listening on replay, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Instagram, on the recent live, #replay in the comments. Let us know that you were here, that you got some value. Let us know your number one biggest takeaway. If you're listening on either Spotify or the Apple Podcast app, on the podcast, we appreciate you guys so freaking much. We're dropping lives every day, 1 p.m., following with the podcast at 2:30 every single day. We're on this shit till it blows up. We love you guys. Let's freaking go, baby. Happy freaking Wednesday.
Thanks
Let's
for watching,
get it.
guys.
Come on now.